Welcome to the first ever Japanese Day Parade here in New York City. Well, it's about to start. We're actually walking towards the... Interesting. And someone just waved at me, one of the workers. Very nice people. This is the first ever Japanese parade here in New York City. Now, the US overall has a very long history. And George Takei, which I tried to live stream in the opening ceremony. However, there was very poor service, but maybe we'll... In a lot in the... might be a few others in major cities around the US. But now, let's walk towards the beginning of the parade. Now, there's spotty service above the train line over here. This is the service kind of cuts out a little because at least the beginning of the parade as much as we can. So right now the parade goes from 81st Street, that's where it starts, all the way to 70th Street. And right now we're walking on an empty Central Park West, which I think is the coolest thing ever. I kind of really enjoy. Buildings that are along here. And I see the parade there in the distance. We have about 5 more blocks to go. David says it's a one-man parade. Right now, at the moment, yeah. I'm the only one walking here. Wow, this is a gorgeous building. Gorgeous church as well. American. You'll go 2nd Street. I'm not sure as of right now if she still lives there. I know as of a few months ago she was still there. The person who's the Grand Marshal is the famous Star Trek pilot himself, George Takei, who is known for saying, "Oh my." He's a really cool guy. He had his Broadway debut a few years ago with the show Allegiance, which he produced and I think also wrote, and it talks a lot about his patriotism that he has for a country that has had a complicated history with him, his family, and his community, that being Japanese Americans in the West Coast. Very interesting. I wish it would come back on Broadway. I would love to see it, but let's see what the parade is in store. Here is the New York, and here we're walking from 70th Street all the way to about 81st, and we're passing 77th Street and Central Park West. Janice says, I saw Allegiance during the pandemic online. Oh, cool. They have an online version. That's awesome to hear. It was very good, says Janice. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Here we have the museum, the American Museum of Natural History. Yes. Oh, media, yeah. No worries. A police officer that thought it was just a random person who snuck into the parade. But no, I came prepared. I'll show you what I have. So the reason I'm inside the parade is because I did not sneak in. It's because I have a media pass. Oh yeah. Perks of running a YouTube show that isn't only myself, but also sounds like a brand, sounds like a major publication. Wendy says, oh my, fifth time's a charm. Indeed it is. Yeah, so everyone slam that like button right now on YouTube. And let's wait over here a little bit. Slam that like button on YouTube right now. There was very terrible service at the opening ceremony, which is where I wanted to start with George Takei in the first shot. Unfortunately, that did not work. I tried 3 times, and when that happens on YouTube, people stop getting notifications. YouTube thinks I'm spamming. So in order to tell YouTube, hey, no, this is not spam, slam that like button right now so more people can see this Japanese parade. And on Facebook, if you shared the previous ones, they're no longer up. So share this one right now with any relevant Facebook groups. Wendy says I slammed it. Thank you so much, Wendy. I appreciate it. So parade's supposed to start at 1 p.m. So I assume we're getting close to the floats going down. DV says, where's the parade? I'll show you. Let me pop up the map. Japan Day was so glad to have a map here. So right now we are walking in this vicinity in front of the Museum of Natural History. The parade start is right there at 81st Street, one of the double wide streets of New York. Ends pretty much at 70th Street where the public is watching, and then all the floats kind of spill out a little bit afterwards. However, on 68th Street, there is a street fair that's running until 4:30 p.m. With some Japanese vendors. So food, drinks, and I think knickknacks and maybe clothes and other things like that. Here's a screenshot of all the food options that they have. And the Grand Marshal this year is George Takei himself. It's been a Grand Marshal of a few parades because he is a prominent LGBT rights activist as well. So he was a Grand Marshal of the LGBT parade in Chicago. And probably many others. Probably other Japanese American parades in the West Coast. Hey. Susie says, lots of events today. Hey, Action Kid's tuning in. Welcome, Action Kid. Nice to see you here. Action Kid says, wow, never had a parade before. Yeah, the Japanese never had a parade here. As I mentioned, Japanese influence is bigger on the West Coast. So where I went to in Seattle and also in California, probably the 2 biggest states, Washington, California. Here in New York, not so much. The population at its maximum was about 120,000 at some point. It's gotten pretty low because in the early 2000s, Japan has gone through some tough economic times, and by the early 2000s, a lot of Japanese companies started pulling out from overseas operations, or taking away benefits from Japanese workers working overseas. So a lot of those Japanese that did live in New York City, that were mostly in Queens, Yorkville here in Manhattan, and other parts of Connecticut, actually moved back. So now we don't have too many Japanese left anymore. But there's still a mark on this city with a lot of food, and of course Japanese bookstores, anime, people follow it, and Japan Day is a big event in Central Park every year. And now we have the parade. And also some famous artists like Noguchi, probably one of the more famous American artists, New Yorker. And now we have the famous Joji, who's a famous pop star who actually is a Japanese New Yorker as well. And here we have the horses. They're doing a show. And Hawaii as well. Thank you so much, AK and Ron, for clarifying. We have quite a few Hawaiians that have Japanese ancestry that tune in. Adam, when is Japan Day? Japan Day was... It happens another point of year. Today is not official Japan Day as is celebrated in Central Park. Today's the parade. So we're gonna wait in this spot because they're about to roll on down. And here we have George Takei. Oh my, great suit that he has. The reporter right next to him kind of looks like Martin Scorsese. Oh, he's doing the live long and prosper symbol from Star Trek. DS says, I will visit Japan one day. I hope you do, DS. I hope you do. Me too. I really want to go to Japan. I hope it opens up sometime soon. Sylvia says George Takei was also in the Japanese internment camp when he was young. Yeah, he was. 5 years old, he was pulled out from his home. Many Japanese were pulled out from their homes. It was estimated 120,000. They saw these signs posted all around their towns and the neighborhoods in their respective cities, mostly along the West Coast. And they were pulled into internment camps all around. Camps that look like this. George Takei was one of them. He was pulled into a camp at 5 years old with his family at gunpoint. One of his earliest memories of living in this country. Hard times in those camps. Yeah, and for example, here was the distribution of Japanese Americans in 1940. As you can see, California by far had the most Japanese Americans, and Washington was number 2. Right below Oregon as well. New York, probably the only East Coast state that had some Japanese population. So, this parade also marks the very important anniversary of one of the most famous embassy missions in the US of the 1800s. Back in 1872, I'll pull up this guy over here so I can remember his name. Iwakura Tomomi came over here with a lot of people, upwards of 100 Japanese, right during the Meiji Restoration, as Japan decided to come out of isolationism, establish an empire, and decided to scout the US and then later Europe in order to find out how they run their schools, how they run their industry, what is the technology that they have, and what is the culture. They wanted to learn as much as possible in order to catch up with the rest of the world because Japan was a few hundred years behind. So they came in their groups with scholars, with ambassadors, with public officials, with cultural experts, and sometimes with just with children, so they can go to the local schools. And they went to a few major cities, such as places in California. San Francisco was their place where they started. And then they went over to Salt Lake City and made their way over to Washington, D.C. and even New York City. This marks the anniversary of that event, this year, 2022, because that was in 1872. And now, this actually was supposed to start back in 2020. But unfortunately, the pandemic started. The Olympics were also delayed. So this parade was delayed by 2 years. The very first Japanese in New York actually was not so far back. It was only back in about 1852, around there, when they came on a boat called the Olympia, was it? Yeah. Louis says, how are you doing that all on your phone? Magic. I use an app called Prism Live Studio, Louis. Donald says the last name Iwakura means rock storehouse. Oh, interesting. Thank you so much, Donald. The Japanese were treated unfairly, says Yami, just because of their nationality. A sad truth. Yeah, I mean, we do have to put things into perspective sometimes. The Americans did indeed consider also interning Germans, both in World War I and World War II. Ultimately, they didn't, but it was also in consideration. I think one of the reasons they decided not to was because a lot of Germans were integrated in some of the biggest industries in the East Coast. And that would have been a very complicated affair. But they were this close, this close. But unfortunately, yes, the Japanese did end up getting the brunt of the discrimination during World War II. Sylvia says, I'm writing a historical fiction story about the camps. George is a hero of mine. That's so awesome. Sylvia, are you Japanese American yourself? That's amazing. Glad you're writing a short story about that. Not that you have to be, but I'm curious if you are. Janice says, lovely parasols. Yeah, indeed. All right, let's see what floats are lined up. Donald says Japanese people also in Canada were sent to internment camps. Oh, yeah. Very complicated history, of course. Here are the porta potties for the people who are working the parade. Sharon says, you just passed my son on a float. Oh, cool, Sharon. What float was it? Was it the Marubeni? Let me know, Sharon. I'll backtrack a little bit. Cool thing about Media Pass, I can go anywhere here in this parade, and they have apparently don't have restrictions of walking forward or backward.
Can anybody who?
Sharon says that it says Marubeni, yeah. One of these are your son. Jamie says it's pronounced Jamie. Thank you so much for letting me know, Jamie. Kosti says Hanami is celebrating Helsinki tomorrow. Oh, cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hello to Sharon's son, the red-haired one on the float. All right, let's continue walking. Sylvia says, no, I'm African American, but my mother's best friend was Japanese American in camp. Oh, glad you're writing a story. That's awesome, Sylvia. Let us know on Urbanness of the World when it's posted. The Facebook group for Urbanness of the World. Here's the band from the NYPD, New York Police Department. Hello, Eileen. Nice to see you here. Hello, Caitlin. Welcome. Casio says Marubeni is a great company. Oh, cool. What do they do? Do let me know. Here's the airliner. ANA. That's cool. Catherine says weather looks today perfect for a parade. Yeah, it might rain. Or it might not rain. At least it's cloudy. It's not very hot.
Guys, can you look over here? Wait. Tell people
That's funny. Let's cross over. This is Mitsubishi. Sailor Moon. Japanese corporate culture is probably one of the more interesting parts of Japanese history. I would love to cover it someday. It's a bit more hardcore than even American corporation. Mitsubishi is old. They date all the way back to the 1800s. And it's very interesting, very interesting. I'll definitely get to that whenever I go to Japan. Stay tuned. Here we have a sword fight happening. Gary says, well, we also need some Japanese supercars to do some drifting. That'd be very interesting. All right, let me walk through here. Oh, we got some Japanese American veterans. That's cool. Of course, some Japanese Americans did fight in World War II. Maybe this gentleman over here who's dressed in the military garbs. That's impressive. Down there we see Central Park Tower, the tallest right now in New York City, and roof height. Donald says Mitsubishi means 3 diamonds, which explains the company's logo. Thank you so much, Donald. I'm so glad you know so much about Japanese culture. That's awesome to hear. So someone said, I hope you cover the Puerto Rican Day Parade. While I would love to, I won't be here for the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I'll be off across the pond, officially. So if you want to see the best of Europe in 2022 this summer, you can become a patron, patreon.com/urbanness. Help support the show so I can show you some of the coolest parts of Europe soon. Let's continue walking. patreon.com/urbanist. Hey, Shock says Ansel Elgort spoke perfect Japanese in the TV series Tokyo Vice. Yes, I don't know Japanese, so I can't attest to his Japanese, but the show itself is amazing. Highly recommend everyone to watch Tokyo Vice on HBO Max. It is a genuinely good show based on a true story about the American journalist that uncovers the secrets of the Yakuza, which is basically the mafia equivalent of Japan, with a very long history. Alright. I'm sure with our Scottish accents, Ariel felt like we were speaking Japanese to him, so this Gary. Gary, Scottish wasn't too hard to understand. Here's the New York Kimono Academy. Look at that. So a few people are asking, do I have my own float? No, not yet. I have no ties to Japan. So no, I don't have my own float. DS says, Japanese is easy to learn. I think it's easy to learn a few words. Yeah, it's very phonetic. But I've heard that the language itself is, to speak conversationally is very hard. Sounds like the music is starting, says Sharon. Oh, it is indeed starting. Got groups of martial arts. Aikido or karate, one of those. Taekwondo. Taekwondo is probably from another country, I think. Christine, nice to see you here. Thank you again for the stars earlier. Wow, a lot of kids in this parade this year. More than other parades. And we're reaching the end of the floats. Right here. Beautiful orange garbs. Kind of looks like Dragon Ball Z orange. Really cool. I think if you are from an older generation above the 80s, you probably don't realize how impactful Japanese culture has been in America and Western Europe, especially America. At least for me, 1990s. I grew up with shows like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Power Rangers, which was a American adapted version of a Japanese show, and of course, other friends of mine and people who grew up in the 80s grew up with movies like Akira and Gundam and Neo Genesis Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, many other shows. So it has had a very, very big impact. So I assume that's why there's a lot of kids here as well, because they all kind of know that part of Japanese culture, which is anime, which is Japanese cartoons. DS says Godzilla. Well, yeah, Godzilla is probably the first, I would say, version of Japanese culture coming into mainstream America. Astro Boy back in the early 60s, was it? Late 50s? Was the first anime to come into America. Christine said 500 stars, thank you so much. David says also the movie Gun Ho. Ooh, I have not heard of Gun Ho. But Kyo Soldier, as someone mentions the movie Gun Ho. Olga says Sailor Moon. Yeah, Sailor Moon as well. I did not watch that too much, but yeah, it was also a 90s thing. Here we have some women dressed up as Maximus. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I appreciate you, Maximus. Cool look. I love it. Susie says you're speaking language to me. Touche, Susie. Touche. As I mentioned, yeah, if you grew up before the 80s, probably don't know too much about Japanese media. Nómades, bienvenidos para todo el mundo viendo en español. Estamos ahora en el primer parada de los japoneses aquí en Estados Unidos, aquí en Nueva York específicamente. Hay eventos de los japoneses anuales en Central Park, pero esta es la primera vez que hay una parada en las calles. So this is the first annual Japanese parade here in New York City. There's usually events within Central Park, and there's also another one in Prospect Park, at least in the Botanical Gardens. But this is the first one that's on the streets, official parade. Christine says, "Arigato siamasta." Arigato.
I replanted a bunch of the
Do I like Japanese anime? I grew up with Pokemon, Sonic, Power Rangers, Dragon Ball Z. I also grew up with Dragon Ball Z, such a great show. Cowboy Bebop, another great show. Sonic, one of the better Japanese video games made. Super Mario as well. In the realm of video games, you have Super Mario 2, which was a huge deal. Basically, anyone born after 1980 knows the theme song to Super Mario. Let me know, are you Team Sonic or are you Team Super Mario? I've always been Team Sonic. Let me know, which team are you? How's it going?
On TikTok, does all the history of like New York City and
I
stuff
do,
like that?
yeah.
What's up, I know I recognize
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
And right now I'm doing a live video.
I just
of the
saw, yeah, I
first-
figured I was like, that's the guy. I was like, I know this guy.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. All right, shout out to the first police officer for spotting me. I haven't had a police officer yet say that they're a fan, so this is the first one. Shout out to him. Thank you so much for tuning in. Kay, 7,000 stars. Thank you so much, Kay. Japan had the first superhero before Superman comic strip. That's interesting. I gotta look into that history. Thank you so much for letting us know. Oleg, nice to see you here. Hope you're doing okay. Hope your family's doing okay. Oleg from Ukraine. Marina says the NYPD is watching. The police officer was looking at me, and you know, as an American, I tend to feel a little bit nervous whenever a police officer is staring at me. But luckily, it was a TikTok follower. That's awesome.
That's you. That's you.
George says Japan might be opening up for tourism next month. I heard. I hope actually becomes the case. We'll see. Nomade says, te queda muy bien el cabello suelto con rizos. You look very good with your hair all curly. Muchas gracias, Nomades. Lo agradezco. Sí, hoy un día bien húmedo. Today is a very humid day here in New York City. 87% humidity? Crazy amount. Susie says I also have humidity here today. Yep. It's gonna plague many New Yorkers today. Humidity here. George says Voltron was my favorite cartoon in the 1980s. Oh, cool. I mean, Transformers itself was directly inspired from Japanese anime. Ron says, John from Only in Japan, a great YouTube channel, says it's opening by June. Ooh, cool to hear. Hopefully. Sometimes with certain governments, things can change pretty rapidly. All right, here we go, the police band. Leslie says, can you show us the front of the parade? You're seeing it, Leslie. We're basically at the parade right now. Can anyone let me know who this gentleman is? Let's see. Oh, here it is. Here. I was wondering, a lot of people were greeting him very formally, and this is apparently Mikio Mori, who's the ambassador of Japan in New York. Oh, cool. Okay. Before I started my live video, a lot of people were bowing to him. I know it's common for Japanese, but there was a few Americans doing the same thing. Here we have Mr. Met. Look at that. That's so cool. Donald says, when I lived in Japan, I got so used to bowing that I even did it on the phone. Yeah, I can imagine. Kay's asking, any new Patreons join today? Yeah, if you just joined Patreon, let me know.
They might hop in the rig with you, all right?
Guys,
Two guys.
they catch up and come
Yeah, they're right there. They're right there. We don't want to move with
Oh, there's only one veteran here. A lot of people don't realize that in only 10 years or so, we're not going to have World War II veterans in America because many of them are already pushing late 90s. So, wow. We got to preserve their stories as much as possible. He's gonna pose with the baseball. Mr. Brett wants to get closer to the veteran, but they're not letting him. Mr. Brett's like, no. So people are saluting because this gentleman, Japanese-American veteran for World War II. Must have been very young during World War II. Mr. Met wanted to get close to him. If you don't know who Mr. Met is the mascot for the New York Mets. He's either from the 100th or the 442 Regiment. Let's see, probably up here. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for letting us know. No, it doesn't say. It doesn't say in the front. Lorraine V, thank you so much for 100 stars. Everyone slam that like button right now on YouTube. Due to poor cell phone reception, I had to start a few times over, and after 3 times, basically YouTube thinks that the video is spam and hence doesn't push it any further. So slam that like button right now. A lot of people might have not gotten their notifications. Susie says, like my dad, a Borinquenier, which was a Puerto Rican squad or battalion in World War II. He's in his late 80s. Oh, wow. Susie, thank you for his service. Let me know if we have any veterans tuning in from any place. Do let us know. Special shout out to all the veterans that helped during World War II. We got Mrs. Met as well. I love this. It's cool that we have Mrs. Met and Mr. Met. I'm glad Mr. Met finally found the love of his life, Mrs. Met. Aren't they a lovely couple? Look at them two with their big baseball heads. Susie says, where are the Yankees people? Susie, great question. So one of the reasons there might be the Mets and not the Yankees is because the majority of the Japanese New Yorkers were in Queens. I don't think there was that many in the Bronx. They were mostly in Queens. Those neighborhoods that are now Korean neighborhoods, like Flushing, Fresh Meadows, were the ones that had Japanese before Koreans came. Shout out to Sharon's son right there in the front. Let us know for any Japanese experts. What is this? Donald says it's a very ancient ritual music. Thank you. Here we have Mikio Mori, the Ambassador and Consul General of Japan in New York. He's also the chairman, the honorary chairman of Japan Day. Dolores says, so emotional what that lone veteran has gone through. He seemed also to be in very good spirits. Glad he was able to walk the parade today. He served our country selflessly and then came home to face prejudices with housing. Yes, Dolores, yeah. If you were Japanese American, African American, Puerto Rican American, Mexican American, after World War II, you faced a lot of discrimination. Many of them couldn't find housing despite all their service that they gave to their country. Despite the benefits that they might have had, they're still unable to find housing due to discrimination. So yeah, must have been a lot of hardship. I'm glad he's in good spirits walking the parade today. Hi, it says konnichiwa. Konnichiwa to you too, hi. Zachary says, can anyone explain why this is a holiday? It's a good question. The biggest the Japanese population in New York ever got was about 120,000 people. Actually, a little bit. That was probably the maximum during the heyday of Japanese companies being here in the U.S. Now it's a lot less. It's about 20,000, 30,000. Why did they make this parade? Well, Japanese culture has had a very big impact in American culture overall. I think that's one of the reasons. Second reason is Japanese companies are also deeply entrenched in New York. That might be the second reason. And let me know if there's any other reasons why you think there's a big Japanese celebration today. Davis says your lips are not matching the sound. It's like a voiceover to a foreign movie. Oh no, might be some delay with the cell phone reception. No, I'm not trying to make my my live video seem like a dub of a Japanese TV series, like Power Rangers. All right, had to mute for a little bit. There was some commercial music playing. Dutch Moss, nice to see you here. Have you visited Japan Village in Brooklyn? I don't think so. I visited Little Japan in East Village many times. One of my favorite areas of the city, which is located at St. Mark's and the next block over, 9th Street. Do let me know more about Little Japan in Brooklyn. Love that little demonstration. Sylvia also mentioned that it is Asian American Month. Yes, it is. So that's another reason why this is happening today. Wendy says, join in. Fun fact, I used to do Tiger Showman's Karate, which was a karate school chain here in the East Coast of America. I did not like it at all. Nope. Ron says, what karate belt did I have? I had the second one. Green? I think green or brown. One of those two. Felix says, well, you say St. Mark's and 10th Street is Little Tokyo. Yeah, more specifically 9th Street and St. Mark's. Yeah, that's Little Tokyo. Yeah, 10th Street can be included in that as well. Love this type of music. Makes me ready to go into the battlefield. So Sharon says this is the all-women Taiko. Thank you so much. Taiko, great type of music. Here we have the portable shrine from Samukawa Jinja, courtesy of the Brooklyn Botanical Garden. That's what it says on the sign in the front. And here's the Northeast Council of Teachers in Japan. Ron says, have I ever watched Samurai Jack? I never saw it myself, but I did watch the shows that appeared alongside Samurai Jack, like Dragon Ball Z. Susan says, hey Ariel, this is wonderful. I'm loving it. I'm so glad. Uh-oh. Danger zone for anyone walking the parade. As horse manure for people who don't know. Wendy says, I'm having a cocktail right now. Got me in the mood. Someone says, hey, we should have some Japanese food. There might be Japanese food a little bit later in the parade, so stay tuned. Alfredo says, and Yoko Ono, where is she? That's a good question. I'm not sure she'll be featured in this parade. A lot of people might not be so aware, but Yoko has a very complicated relationship with Japan, as far as from what I've read, especially during her relationship with John Lennon. So let me know if that has changed or what has happened, but I know it's a bit complicated. So I'm not too optimistic that she'll be here. All right, let me mute for a little bit. Wow, great umbrellas. Oh my god. We might not have Yoko, but we do have Hello Kitty. you might remember the all the merchandise with Hello Kitty on it. All right, muting for a little bit now.
This is the end of side one of this record. Please now turn it over for the second side.
First Class Ticket from the Urbanist Coffee Break album, available on Spotify. I had to mute because there was more popular Japanese music playing. I do not want to incur the wrath of Japanese copyright. Dolores says, thank you for bringing this this parade. My pleasure, Dolores. Catherine says, were those Japanese cars? You know, good question. Yep. No. Yep. That car is a Lexus, so. D-Maz. Love that album. I'm glad you do. Oh. There's a scene in Tokyo Vice that has this type of fighting. It's so cool. Again, check it out. HBO Max. I'm not sponsored by them, but they did end the first season with a cliffhanger, and I am going to hella advertise it in the hopes that they continue for a second season. AP says watch your gimbal. Yes. I have a very long selfie stick, so I can combat with my long selfie stick. New York Kenshin Kai. Pardon my Japanese pronunciation. AP is saying wax on, wax off. So wax on, wax off. I don't think the guy was Japanese in that movie, The Karate Kid. Let me know. That's a good question. Let us know. Was Mr. Miyagi Japanese in the movie? Is the actor Japanese American? Do let me know. That's a good question. I actually don't know. let us know. David says it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. Touche, touche. DS says yes, Mr. Miyagi was Japanese in the Karate Kid movie. Thank you. And do let us know what's his ethnicity. Catherine says yes, he was indeed Japanese American. Thank you so much for letting us know. All right, Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off.
Oh my god!
Donald says Pat Morita was indeed Japanese American. Thank you so much. Ad says I love New York. I'm so glad you do. Abdelazim. Salam alaikum. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here's the KO Academy of New York with a band. DS says in Japan you would be Ariel-san. I like that, Ariel-san. That's kind of cool. Japanese can pronounce my name correctly, at least it's the original pronunciation, which is Ariel, because my name is originally in Spanish. And anytime I meet a Japanese person, they do know how to pronounce it correctly, which is really cool. Hey, Donald says your pronunciation when you read the 2 recent banners with Japanese words was good. Oh, thank you so much, Donald. Awesome, that's good to hear. Japanese is a very phonetic language, so I'm reading it phonetically. D-Moss says urbanism. Tell me the name of urbanism. Cross over here. Good job. Kids have the Japanese press pass. Ron says there was one time in band camp, making reference to American Pie. All right. Catherine says I love the uniforms. I'm glad you do, Catherine. That's awesome to hear. Shock says, I tried to teach my grandma how to use chopsticks, but she accidentally made me a sweater. That's a good one, Shock. Good one. Doreen says, Upper West Side? I joined in late. Yes, we are in the Upper West Side here in Manhattan, right along 72nd Street right now, Central Park West, which is 8th Avenue, right? 8th Avenue.
Look at TikToks.
You do? Oh, cool. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay curious. Hey, I'm not supposed to be the one on show here. You see me, everyone. The focus is on the parade, not me. All right, so I can show you a little. I'm going to show you a little bit more of the parade. There's not going to be good service going further down, but there is a Japanese fair on 68th Street. If you want me to show it to you, I'll take the long way around the parade so I have sustained my good cell phone reception, and we'll show you a little bit of Japanese food potentially. Let me know if you're down for that.
No more, no more.
Let's wait until people cross and let me know.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Nightbot is confused. Sorry, everyone. Nightbot, for some reason, thinks New York City's not a valid location. So I will try to fix that. D-Ma says, yum, Japanese food. Wendy says, down for that. Susie says, of course. Mr. Ming says, let's go, let's go, let's go. Hyde is calling me a gaijin. I'm not here in America. But yes, in Japan that would be. DS says, see, even the cops said, hey, let's go, let's go. Na, 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 na. Charlotte says, that police lady we just saw reminded me of the one for Police Academy. Yeah, I mean, that police officer woman that we saw does fill the stereotype of many police officer women that we see in film. Adam says, are you a chopstick person? You know, I always used to be a fork person, but then I just decided to stick with it with chopsticks. It was a long, arduous process. Many people tried to teach me how to use chopsticks and failed miserably. I tried everything. I would stab the food with the chopstick to make it easier. I would use the chopsticks with like two hands to make it easier. I would fight with my food like they're fighting each other right now with my chopsticks. Many, many years of practice, I finally learned it myself. And it was mostly because of urbanist videos, because whenever I would go to an Asian restaurant, specifically Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, they would just give me chopsticks. So I had to just learn the hard way. So now I use chopsticks whenever I go to Asian cuisine. Dolores says, have you been to Japan? No, I am eager to go to Japan. Really excited. Have not had the chance yet because it's been closed. Apparently it will open in June. Not sure how restricted it is in June, but I am optimistic to visit soon. Ava says there's a Japanese Buddhist center nearby. Yes, there is. in the neighborhood right above. Oh, things are getting fierce here. Where's Tom Cruise when you need him? Or more appropriately, Ken Watanabe. Where's Ken Watanabe when you need him? DS says you would have tons of content in Japan. I would, yes. I mean, there's entire channels dedicated to just Tokyo alone, so yeah. Susan says that takes me back. It does. Cool, Susan. That's awesome to hear. Uh-oh. Cue the music. The drums. Dun, 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 dun. Cue the Cowboy Bebop theme song. Wait, I got it. Alright, that was the Urbanist theme song. And if you can't tell now, yes, it was directly inspired by Cowboy Bebop and the music of Lalo Schifrin, even though he composed for Hong Kong movies, some of them. Still appropriate. People don't know Cowboy Bebop, great anime series. Check out the song Tank from Cowboy Bebop. Okay, Google, play Tank from the Seatbelts. Alexa, play Tank from the Seatbelts. This guy's loud. Kay says my Alexa doesn't know it. No! It's a very popular song. Uh-oh, she just backstabbed him. That's not within the code, the Bushido code. That was fun. Kay says I'd have fun with those big sticks. It seems like a lot of fun. Oh, okay. Yeah, we stop. I think we stop. Alright, go. So this is Kenshin Kai right here. The guy's quick. That was a lot of fun. Let me know for any of the Japanese experts, what movies has this type of fighting style? Let me know, I'm so curious. Ron says the battle started with a Yo Mama joke, as all major battles do. All right, let's head over to the fair. So bear with me. Now we're gonna take the long way around because there's not gonna be any cell phone reception down this way. There's a black hole of cell phone reception. Let's go. Okay, say goodbye to the parade. We saw all the floats because when we walked back before it started, that was all the floats. And we saw about 75% of the parade while in motion. Now we're gonna go over to the street fair and see what's on there. So it's an entire event. The street fair runs until 4:30 p.m. So let's see what's up in street fair. What interesting foods we'll find. Ooh, you see Sailor Moon.
I'm going to when I see him.
Donald has a link to all the movies with Kendo. Oh, cool, Donald. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm glad that there's a list. I think one of them was, I forgot the name of the show on Adult Swim, which was the series of anime shows on Cartoon Network. There was one that took place in like Shogun times that had Kendo. Rurouni Kenshin, something like that. AP says it's Chicago clean. Yeah, indeed it is. Well, this is the Upper West Side, and this is the beautiful part of the Upper West Side. Carol says, what happened to Sailor Moon? There was 2 women dressed as Sailor Moon characters. Donald says the Star Wars Phantom Menace was one of the movies that featured Kendo. Oh yeah, Q, The Duel of Fates. Or Fates by John Williams. Such a great scene in cinema history. AAP says, Yoko on 72nd Street will invite you in for a scream. I think Yoko gets a little bit too much of a bad rap. She's a very unique eccentric woman, that's for sure. But I think she gets a lot of hate where she doesn't deserve it. And I would be honored to go to Yoko's apartment and have a good scream. Because she does it best. Who can deny that? But yeah, as I mentioned, she probably won't be at the parade, unfortunately. Susie says she was so way ahead of her time. Yep, she predated Scream Metal. AEP says you must bring a lot of sake. Yes, I think I think that's the best tact. Kay says unique is one way to describe her.
And
So right now we're in Columbus Avenue. A lot of stuff here happening. Great place to find a restaurant to eat. Some great shops as well. DS says, do I prefer sake cold or hot? That's a great question, DS. Personally, I prefer my sake hot, and I like it unfiltered. People don't know, if you can have sake filtered, which is clear, or you can have it unfiltered, which has a cloudy look to it. And they serve it either cool, room temperature / cool, or they serve it hot. Not hot, but warm. And it's really, really good. Warm.
yeah, something like that.
Ron says, according to the books, Yoko was not the main reason for the Beatles' breakup. Yep. Yep, that is true. Donald says, I also prefer my sake warm. Let us know what way you prefer your sake. Catherine says, would love to see her art and hear her stories. That would be really cool. Well, she's right over there, right there in the corner. I wonder what she's doing on a day like today. If she's still living in the Dakota. Zenarg says, I've seen Yoko several times walking in Central Park. It's great to see her. She's done a lot for New York. She has indeed. I mean, she organized Strawberry Fields, made it into a beautiful garden. Of course, put that mosaic in honor of John Lennon. All right, let me read for a little bit. There was some roving reggaeton. Susie says she posts on Facebook. Oh, cool. What's Dolores says, I thought I saw her wave from the window. That would be really cool. One of my top restaurant recommendations here at Columbus Avenue in the Upper West Side, Parm. This is probably the most amount of people I've seen on Columbus Avenue. I think it's because Central Park West is closed. Dia says that's where you had your big ziti. Yeah, I had it at the original restaurant, which is located in Soho. And this is their other one. This one's way bigger, so this one's easier to find a seat. Hey, Susie says, I think the Parm is back open in Brookfield Place. That's cool to hear. Definitely worth a visit. Old sign alert. Wendy's asking how old is Yoko? I think she's already in her late 80s or early 90s. Do let us know. AP says she's 82. Really? She's that young? I thought she was a bit older. Bakery recommendation right over here. Magnolia Bakery. Oh, the bus is blocking it. Hi, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.
Nothing like that.
All right, so another viewer. Thank you so much for saying hello. All right, here it is, 69th Street. This is the fair for Japanese food. Crazy lines. Okay, a lot of people turned up today. So we got soba, ya.
Yes. Exactly.
Ooh, some good soba. Line is long though. Soba is noodles. There's two different types of noodles. There's two main ones, soba and udon. Let me know the difference. One of them is buckwheat. Adam is asking what type of Japanese food here. Right here we have noodles. Noodles in the broth. And some tempura. Oh, so some fried fish. Lines are too crazy long to really show too much food. I'll show you from the outside. Here we got some onigiri, which is a beautiful, really good kind of rice snack. Usually stuffed with some tuna, salmon, or in this case they just have greens as well for a vegan version. $5, pretty expensive. I assume in Japan you can get these for like $1. Wow, the line is crazy long for this one. Oh my god. To get onigiri, the line is it's like a 20-minute line to get some onigiri. Come here early. Here we got some Japanese fried chicken, which I adore. The Japanese have a way of frying their foods that is a lot less greasy than American frying techniques. They use panko crumbs. Sorry. Donald says yes, they're much cheaper in Japan. Onigiri.
Yeah.
Oh, I want some. A lot of people Google, a lot of the people saying Yoko is indeed 89. Thank you so much for letting us know. Yep, 89. She was much older than John. Dutch Malt says use your media pass to get to the front. No, I am curious. Probably not. But that is an interesting idea, Dutch Malls. Here's some seafood ramen. Ooh, seafood ramen. That's interesting. Ramen, basically Japanese soup. Usually with pork and noodles. Cool. Very cool selection over here. It's every day says PewDiePie now lives permanently in Japan. Really? That's cool. I gotta watch his vlog that he talks, I think, about citizenship. Do you get it?
I know, that's why we're gonna just keep going forward. Okay.
One of my favorite dishes is okonomiyaki. Okonomiyaki. Oh my god, this is a godsend of a Japanese dish. I'll show you how they make it. I featured it before, about like 2 years ago. It's a bunch of cabbage, sauces. It's basically a Japanese pancake with some seafood. You 9th Street. Ooh, hojicha panna-cotta, which hojicha, if I'm correct, is a toasted green tea, toasted matcha. And this one is a panna-cotta, which is a Japanese Italian fusion. This one barely. They got mochi donuts. Mochi, it's like a Japanese ice cream that's served not as cold as American or ice cream or gelato. Has more of a gummy texture to it. We have some tea, bottled tea, which is very famous in Japan. Fun fact, the reason we're starting to see a lot of bottled iced coffees, cold brew coffees in America is because it was inspired by Japanese bottled tea, and also the Japanese started bottling their coffee slightly before Americans did. Super Rich says people love Japanese culture. Oh, yes. As mentioned, don't underestimate Japanese culture. It's super popular. Hey, Gayatri, nice to see you here. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you so much for tuning in. You Young, this is 69th Street. Okay, everyone, sorry I can't show you food. The lines are way too long to be anywhere near entertaining on live video. But I can't wait to visit Japan one day and show some more Japanese food. There'll be a lot more food broadcasts this summer because good news is we're going over to Europe. I won't tell you where. You have to find out whenever I go live. I'll be announcing to a few awesome places in Europe this summer. So thank you so much everyone who's been sending stars, becoming patrons. Foods. The places I'll be going to happen to have food. Oh yes, that's one hint for all of you. There's food. There will be food. Let me show you a little bit more of the street. And if you have any last remaining questions, feel free to ask. This is 69th Street. Still open until 4:30 p.m. today. The parade is soon coming to an end, so you can still have time to visit over here. Susie says, hope you don't go hungry. I might go somewhere else for Japanese food where I don't need to make a crazy line. Nina says, damn, no Staten Island? Who knows, it might be Staten Island. DS says, no, don't go. DS, I'll be back next Saturday at 1 p.m. And that was it. That was the fair here at 69th Street. I mistakenly said 68th before. Going to check out Graham Avenue Fiesta in Williamsburg today. What? Susie, there's a fiesta in Graham Avenue? That's awesome. Adam says, my birthday's next month in New York City. Where should I go? Great question, Adam. It depends what you like. There's a whole lot of great restaurants in New York City. If you have a really big group of people, my favorite is Dallas Barbecue in Times Square. It's very kitschy, but it's classic American food and you can bring a gigantic group of people. For example, I've been with 17 friends before, multiple times, and we were seated nearly immediately at Dallas Barbecue. If you're looking for good ethnic food, try Cafe Mogador, which is at Williamsburg, and also, hey, Urbanist? Yeah. Hi. Hey, how's it going? Action Kit. Remind me of your names.
Ben.
Ming, and then the name of your channel.
The Bing Buzz.
The Bing Buzz. Oh, cool.
I was like, you look familiar.
That's cool. You guys covering also the parade?
We're just vlogging our day and then we stop by. Have some fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Are you going live?
I am live, but I'm about to end right now.
Oh,
if you guys want to stick around for just the 3 seconds,
of course.
I'll be right back.
Yes.
All right, shout out to Bing Buzz. Check them out. They do good, cool content also with Action Kit. I'll be right back.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cafe Mogador is another great place, and there's also a lot of awesome places. From the Japan Day Parade, keep being awesome and always keep exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye. Or how do I say bye in Japanese? Oh, I forgot. Anyway, bye. Oh, sayonara. There we go. Sayonara.